Have you ever looked in the mirror and quietly wondered, how many more good years do I have? Not in fear, but in curiosity, in reflection. What if I told you that your body already holds some of the answers? Not in some fancy medical scan, not in your genetics, but in the small things you do every single day. How you walk, how you sleep, how you think, and even how you connect with the people around you. Most of us go through life assuming that longevity is either luck or family history. And yes, those things play a role. But research from around the world, from Harvard, from Japan's blue zones, from decades of long-term studies, has shown something remarkable. Your daily habits, your physical strength, your emotional health, and even your walking speed can predict how long and how well you'll live. The clues aren't hidden, they're just quiet. And once you know how to spot them, you'll never look at your body or your future the same way again. This video is not about predicting the exact number of years you have left. It's about recognizing the signs that your body is giving you. Signs that may suggest you're thriving or that you may need to make some gentle changes. These aren't scary signs, they're empowering ones. Because the earlier you see them, the more control you have over your health, your vitality, and your next chapter. We're going to look at 7 science-backed indicators that relate to lifespan. Everything from your resting heart rate to your balance, your memory, and even how strong your social connections are. Each one tells a piece of the story. And the best part? No matter where you're starting from, there's always something you can do to improve these signs. It's never too late to begin again. So stay with me until the end, because this video may just shift the way you see your life, not in years, but in quality. Not in numbers, but in strength, clarity, and joy. I know you are a person who likes to watch videos quietly. If you have not liked and subscribed to the channel, now is a good time to do it because you are a kind person. If the video is helpful, press 1. If the video is not good enough or needs improvement, press 2. Thanks everyone. Now let's get started. Number 1, resting heart rate, the rhythm of longevity. Eleanor had never thought much about her heart, at least not in the literal sense. She thought about love, about heartbreak, about all the memories her heart had carried over nearly 8 decades. But the physical heart, the beat inside her chest, it was just something that happened in the background. That changed when her granddaughter gave her a simple fitness tracker as a gift. At first, Eleanor wore it out of politeness. But one morning, as she sipped her tea and looked down at her wrist, she saw something she hadn't paid attention to before. Her resting heart rate. It read 88 beats per minute. "Is that good?" she asked aloud. Later that week, her doctor gently explained that while not immediately dangerous, a consistently high resting heart rate could be a sign that her heart was under more strain than it should be, even when she wasn't doing anything at all. And that, he said, might be something worth listening to. Your resting heart rate is one of the most powerful, yet overlooked indicators of how well your heart, and your body as a whole, is aging. It tells you how hard your heart has to work just to keep you alive while you're at rest. For most healthy older adults, a resting heart rate between 60 and 75 beats per minute is a sign of efficient heart function. It means your heart is pumping blood smoothly without stress or overexertion. But when that number creeps higher, consistently above 80 or 85, it may suggest your heart is working overtime. Over the years, that extra effort can wear down the cardiovascular system, increasing the risk of high blood pressure, stroke, atrial fibrillation, and even premature death. The beauty of this sign is how simple and accessible it is. You don't need to go to a hospital or have lab work done. All you need is a quiet moment, a watch, or your fingertips on your pulse. You can feel it at your wrist or your neck. Count the beats in 60 seconds, preferably first thing in the morning before you get out of bed. It's a rhythm your body's already playing. You just have to pause long enough to hear it. Many things can raise your resting heart rate without you realizing it. Chronic stress, dehydration, lack of exercise, poor sleep, even certain medications. And for many older adults, it's not just physical strain, but emotional tension that silently keeps the heart racing. We carry so many worries about our health, our future, our families. Sometimes we don't even realize we're holding our breath. The good news is, Your heart is responsive. It can be retrained. Just like you teach a child to calm down by breathing deeply, you can teach your heart to find its steady rhythm again. Start by moving your body gently every day. Take short walks, do chair exercises, or stretch while listening to calming music. Learn to breathe deeply, not from your chest, but from your belly. Focus on slowing down, not just your schedule, but your internal tempo. Drink enough water, laugh more, sleep well. All of these things teach your heart that you're safe, that you're listening, and that it doesn't have to fight so hard to keep you alive. Let me ask you this. When was the last time you checked in with your heart? Not metaphorically, but literally. Not to ask how it feels, but to hear how it beats. Eleanor started checking hers every morning after brushing her teeth. Over time, that number dropped. Slowly at first, 86, then 82, then 79. It became her little ritual, her quiet way of saying, I'm still here, and I'm still trying. And in that gentle act of attention, she found something she hadn't felt in a while. Control, hope, partnership with her own body. In the next section, we'll shift from the beat of your heart to the pace of your steps. Because believe it or not, the way you walk and how fast you do it might tell us even more about how long you'll live and how strong your future can be. Number 2, walking speed, your silent survival indicator. James had always been a steady walker. In his younger days, he was the first one out the door for a walk after dinner, and he used to joke that he walked faster than his own thoughts. But after turning 80, something began to shift. His steps became smaller. He still walked every day, but slower, sometimes without realizing it. His daughter noticed first. "Dad," she said gently, "you used to pass me when we strolled the block. Now I have to slow down for you?" He laughed it off, but at his next checkup, his doctor took it seriously. A simple walking test showed that James had begun walking significantly slower than he had even a year before. What his doctor explained next surprised him. Walking speed can be a powerful predictor of longevity. The slower you walk, especially if the change is sudden or steady, the higher your risk of decline. Not because of the pace itself, but because of what that pace reflects deep inside the body. Walking speed in many ways is like a window into your overall health. It reflects muscle strength, joint function, cardiovascular health, balance, coordination, and even brain performance. It's not just about how fast your feet move, it's about how well all your systems work together. In multiple studies, researchers found that people over 65 who walked faster had a significantly lower risk of early death than those who walked slower. Why? Because a steady, confident walking pace is often a sign of strong heart and lung function, better mobility, sharper reflexes, and an active nervous system. When your walk slows down, it can be a sign that one or more of those systems is starting to struggle. The good news is that this isn't set in stone. If your walking speed has slowed, it doesn't mean it's too late. In fact, that awareness is a gift. It means you now have the chance to do something about it. You can rebuild your pace by gently rebuilding your strength. Start with short daily walks at your own rhythm, and then gradually increase your pace for just a few seconds at a time. Add in light leg exercises, like standing from a chair without using your hands, or marching in place while brushing your teeth. You'd be amazed how much power returns to the legs with even 5 to 10 minutes of focused movement a day. And always remember, good walking form matters. Head up, shoulders back, arms swinging naturally, feet stepping from heel to toe. Move like you're going somewhere, because you are. You're walking toward your future. Let me ask you, how does your walk feel lately? Is it steady, confident, purposeful, or has it gotten quieter, slower, more cautious? James began timing himself during his morning walks, not as a race, but as a ritual. Each week, he aimed to walk just a little farther, a little quicker. Slowly, his confidence returned. He stood taller, he moved with intention, and most importantly, he began to believe, deep in his bones, that it wasn't age slowing him down. It was a habit, one he could change. In the next part of our journey, we'll move from the pace of your steps to the power in your hands. Because your grip, yes, Isrania, your ability to hold something firmly, may reveal more about your heart, your lungs, and your strength than you ever realized. Number 3. Grip strength. The power in your hands. When Marjorie lost her husband, she found herself doing many things she hadn't needed to do before. Opening jars, hauling grocery bags, raking leaves. She always considered herself independent, but there were moments when her hands simply didn't cooperate. One morning, she couldn't twist open a bottle of vitamins, and the frustration caught her off guard. It wasn't just about the bottle. It was about the quiet realization that her hands, those hands that had once held babies, typed letters, sewn buttons, kneaded dough, held onto railings and grandchildren, were growing weaker. At her next physical, her doctor asked her to squeeze a small device to measure grip strength. "We'll check this each year," he said. "It tells us more than you might think." That surprised her. What could her hands possibly say about her heart? Her future? The truth is, grip strength is one of the most reliable and surprising predictors of longevity. Studies from around the world have shown that people with stronger hand grip strength tend to live longer, recover faster from illness, and maintain independence well into their later years. Why? Because grip strength reflects not only the muscles in your hands and arms, but also the health of your nervous system, your cardiovascular endurance, your lung capacity, and your brain's ability to coordinate motion. It's not about opening jars, it's about what your hands are silently communicating about the rest of your body. As we age, our muscle mass naturally declines, a process known as sarcopenia. It begins as early as our 40s and accelerates in our 70s and beyond. One of the first and easiest places to observe this change is in the hands. Weakness in grip can be an early warning sign of frailty, a loss of functional strength, or even increased risk of cognitive decline. Yet the beauty of this sign is that it is also one of the most reversible. Strength, even in your 70s, 80s, or 90s, can be regained with small, consistent efforts. Start with what you already have. Keep a soft ball or hand gripper by your favorite chair and squeeze it during commercial breaks or while listening to music. Wring out a towel as an exercise before hanging it to dry. Practice picking up small objects like marbles or coins, simple motions that keep your coordination sharp. For those who enjoy a little rhythm, try light drumming on the kitchen table to keep fingers flexible and strong. It's not about intensity, it's about presence. Every movement is a reminder. These hands still serve, still create, still carry the weight of your story. Let me ask you something simple, yet powerful. When you reach out to hold something, or someone, do you feel strength in your grip? Do you trust your hands to support your day? Marjorie began noticing her grip in unexpected ways. She found herself holding her teacup more steadily, opening her front door more confidently, reaching for things she used to avoid. The change didn't just come from her fingers, it came from her mindset. She realized that strength wasn't lost. It had simply been sleeping. And now, with a little effort, it was waking back up. In our next section, we'll explore another sign that is just as important, yet often ignored until something goes wrong. Your balance. Because while strength gives you power, balance gives you freedom. And when you can stand tall and steady, you give yourself the foundation to live fully. Number 4. Balance ability. Stand steady, live steady. There was a time when Florence didn't think twice about balance. She walked up and down her porch steps with a full basket of laundry, leaned over to tie her shoes without holding on to anything, and reached high into her kitchen cabinets without a flicker of doubt. But after she turned 80, things began to shift in quiet, almost invisible ways. She started sitting down to put on her socks. She moved more slowly when walking across the lawn. And then one day she reached down to pick up the newspaper and felt her body sway, just enough to scare her. It wasn't a fall, but it was a warning, soft, subtle, and deeply humbling. Balance is one of those silent gifts we don't notice until it starts to fade. And yet, it plays a central role in everything we do. Getting out of bed, turning to answer the phone, stepping into the shower, walking across a room. Good balance is the foundation of confident movement. When we lose it even a little, fear begins to creep in. We start avoiding certain activities. We reach for walls or furniture. We hesitate. And over time, that hesitation becomes limitation. What begins as a small shift in stability can quietly lead to a life of restriction, isolation, and greater risk. In fact, studies show that poor balance is not only linked to a higher risk of falls, but also to reduced life expectancy, especially when combined with weak muscle strength. Falls are the #1 cause of injury-related death among adults over 65. But here's something most people don't realize. Many of those falls are not caused by big accidents. They're caused by tiny moments of lost balance. A rug that catches your foot, a misstep in the garden, a moment of dizziness in the bathroom. But balance isn't just physical. It's neurological, muscular, visual, even emotional. It's your body's way of coordinating multiple systems at once, helping you stay centered in space. And the wonderful news is that balance can be retrained. No matter your age, your body still has the capacity to strengthen those connections, step by step, day by day. You don't need fancy equipment to do it. Start small, stand on one foot while brushing your teeth. Walk slowly along a hallway, heel to toe, like you're walking a tightrope. Try getting up from a chair without using your hands. Practice reaching overhead with both arms and holding for a few seconds. And if you enjoy movement, explore Tai Chi, yoga, or water-based exercise, all of which are excellent for improving balance and body awareness. Think of it not just as exercise, but as training for independence. Let me ask you something that goes deeper than just movement. When you stand still, do you feel steady? Not just in your body, but in your mind, your choices, your sense of self? Florence began starting her mornings with a simple ritual. Before her first cup of tea, she would stand in the middle of her living room, lift one foot and breathe. At first, she could only hold it for 5 seconds, but gradually she felt herself growing stronger, not only in her legs, but in her confidence. And with that came something even more powerful than balance, a renewed sense of trust in her body. Because balance, in the end, isn't just about preventing a fall. It's about standing tall in the life you still have. It's about walking without fear, turning corners with ease, and choosing not to shrink your world because of something that can be restored. In our next section, we'll leave the body behind for a moment and turn inward, toward the mind, the memories, and the quiet mental sharpness that keeps us not only alive, but connected to who we are. Because longevity isn't just about how long you live, it's about how clearly and consciously you're able to live each day. Number 5, memory and mental sharpness. The brain's role in longevity. Henry had always been the one with the sharpest memory in the room. He could recall the license plate of his first car, the date of every wedding anniversary, and the names of every kid in his 3rd grade class. But after turning 77, something began to change. He'd pause in the middle of a sentence, searching for a word he knew was just out of reach. He walked into rooms and forgot why. He started writing things down more often, not out of habit, but necessity. Maybe it's just age, he told his wife, but she saw the worry behind his eyes, and so did his doctor. Mental sharpness, our memory, focus, clarity, and ability to process new information, isn't just a matter of intelligence. It's a critical part of healthy aging and longevity. The brain, like the heart or muscles, changes with time. It needs oxygen, it needs stimulation, it needs rest, and most of all, it needs use. The truth is, cognitive decline doesn't happen overnight. It happens slowly, through quiet disconnection, when the brain stops being challenged, when routines become too predictable, or when stress and isolation dull the senses. Multiple long-term studies have shown that people who stay mentally active into their 70s, 80s, and even 90s not only maintain better cognitive function, but often live longer, more independent lives. It's not about solving complex puzzles or mastering chess, although those are great if you enjoy them. It's about staying engaged, reading, writing, learning, having meaningful conversations, playing music, trying new things. Even something as simple as learning how to use a new phone or app can create new neural pathways. The brain is wonderfully adaptable, but only if we keep asking it to grow. Memory is also deeply connected to mood, movement, and connection. Depression, anxiety, poor sleep, and lack of exercise have all been shown to accelerate cognitive decline. On the other hand, regular walks, time in nature, strong social bonds, and laughter can protect and even enhance brain function. You don't need to become a scholar to stay sharp. You just need to stay curious. Let me ask you something personal. When was the last time you learned something new, not because you had to, but because you wanted to? When was the last time your brain felt alive? Henry began writing a short memory each morning. Nothing long, just a sentence or two. A moment from childhood, a joke he once told, a song lyric he liked. And slowly he found his mind waking up. Words came easier, stories flowed. But more than anything, he felt a sense of clarity, like reconnecting with an old friend he hadn't spoken to in years, his own mind. In the next section, we'll move from the inner workings of the brain to something more visible, the shape of your body, and more specifically, the size of your waist. Because what's sitting around your middle might be sending signals about your future that are just as important as what's going on inside your head. Number 6. Waist size, the lifeline around your belly. Charles was never too concerned about his weight. "I'm not trying to fit into a tuxedo," he'd joke. At 72, he still ate heartily, enjoyed dessert, and kept his old jeans, though they hadn't zipped comfortably in years. But at a routine appointment, his doctor wrapped the tape measure around his waist and paused. "You're at 43 inches, she said gently. For men, anything over 40 inches raises your risk, not just for diabetes, but for heart disease, stroke, even certain cancers." Charles was surprised. He had always associated weight with how he looked, not how long he might live. That day, for the first time, his waistline became more than just a number. It became a wake-up call. Many people don't realize that waist size, more than weight alone, is one of the most powerful indicators of health and longevity. While body weight can be affected by muscle, water, and bone density, belly fat, especially visceral fat that surrounds your internal organs, is directly linked to inflammation, insulin resistance, and chronic disease. It's not about vanity, it's about survival. For men, a waist larger than 40 inches, and for women, larger than 35 inches, is considered a serious risk factor for early mortality, even if their overall weight seems normal. This is because excess belly fat isn't just sitting there, it's biologically active. It releases hormones and inflammatory chemicals that can damage the heart, disrupt blood sugar regulation, and interfere with healthy metabolism. In many cases, a growing waistline is one of the earliest visible signs of something much deeper happening inside. And yet, like so many health markers, it's one we often ignore. It creeps up slowly, an extra inch here, a tighter waistband there, until one day we accept it as just part of getting older. But it doesn't have to be. And the good news is that waist size is changeable. You don't need extreme diets or harsh workouts. Simple changes in daily habits can lead to powerful results. Start with smaller portions. Choose whole foods over packaged ones. Add fiber, fruits, vegetables, beans, to help reduce belly fat naturally. Go for a short walk after meals. Drink more water, get more sleep, and most importantly, move your body every day, even gently. Your waistline responds better to consistency than intensity. You're not trying to look like your 30-year-old self. You're trying to protect the years ahead of you. Let me ask you something many of us avoid. When was the last time you truly looked at your waist, not to judge it, but to understand what it might be trying to tell you? Charles didn't go on a diet. He started eating slower, walking more, and paying attention. After 6 months, he'd lost 3 inches around his belly. But what mattered more was how he felt. Lighter, stronger, clearer. "It's not about my pants," he said with a smile. "It's about my future." In the final section of our journey, we'll move away from numbers and focus on something just as powerful, but harder to measure: connection. Because no matter how strong your body is, how sharp your mind is, or how balanced your steps are, life is longer and fuller when it's lived with others. Number 7. Social connection. Loneliness can shorten your life. For decades, Harold was the center of his family's world. Holidays were hosted at his house, grandkids ran through his yard, laughter echoed in the kitchen. But as the years passed, the house grew quieter. His wife passed. The children got busier. The visits became shorter and less frequent. One day after dinner alone, he sat by the window and realized he hadn't spoken to another human being in 2 days. Not really. He wasn't in pain. He wasn't ill. But he felt dimmed, faded, forgotten. What Harold didn't know was that the emptiness he felt wasn't just emotional, it was biological, and it was affecting his health in ways no blood test could measure. Loneliness is not simply being alone, it's feeling unseen. And for older adults, this feeling can become dangerously familiar. Research from Harvard, the CDC, and other major institutions has shown that chronic loneliness is a major risk factor for premature death, on par with smoking, obesity, and lack of exercise. It raises stress hormones, weakens the immune system, increases inflammation, and accelerates cognitive decline. In short, loneliness makes the body age faster. And the most painful part? It often happens in silence, behind closed doors, with a polite smile and a quiet, "I'm fine." As we grow older, our circles often shrink. Friends move or pass away. Our mobility decreases. Hearing loss makes conversation harder. Pride, grief, or depression can cause us to withdraw further. Before we know it, the social spark that once lit our lives begins to flicker. But the truth is, connection is one of the most powerful medicines we have. It doesn't come in a bottle. It doesn't need a prescription. But it requires courage. The courage to reach out, to show up, and to say yes. And the connections don't have to be grand. A short phone call, a letter in the mail, sitting next to someone in a class, even if you don't say much, joining a walking group, a gardening club, a music circle, volunteering at the library or at your church, smiling at the grocery store clerk. Even something as simple as chatting with a neighbor while watering your plants can create a thread of belonging. These threads, over time, weave a net strong enough to carry you through life's loneliest seasons. Let me ask you something gentle, but important. When was the last time you let someone really see you? Not just your face, but your heart. When was the last time you opened your door, not for help, but for company? Harold eventually started attending a local coffee morning at the community hall. At first, he didn't speak much. He just listened. Then one day he brought his old harmonica. He played a tune, and someone clapped. Someone smiled. Someone said, "Do that again." And in that moment, Harold felt something shift. Not just in the room, but in himself. He was still here. He was still needed. He was not alone. Because in the end, living longer isn't only about numbers, diets, or tests. It's about love, purpose, and connection. It's about waking up and knowing that someone is glad you're still around, that your story still matters. As we step into the final part of this journey together, let's gather everything we've learned, not just about heartbeats, walking speed, or memory, but about what it truly means to live fully at every age. In the next section, we'll bring all the signs together and talk about what you can do, starting today, to add not just years to your life, but life to your years. If you've made it this far, you already know something important, something that too many people ignore until it's too late. You know that the body speaks, not in shouts, but in whispers. A heartbeat that's a little too fast, a walk that's a little too slow, hands that feel weaker, a moment of dizziness, a forgotten word, a lonely day. These are not just passing moments. They are messages, quiet signs that your body, your mind, and your heart are giving you, not to scare you, but to guide you. What we've explored together isn't about fear, it's about awareness. Because when you become aware, you become powerful. These 7 signs, your resting heart rate, walking speed, grip strength, balance, mental sharpness, waist size, and social connection, are not about predicting your expiration date. They are about understanding the state of your life today so that you can shape the direction of your tomorrow. You don't need to be perfect in all of them. You don't need to change everything at once. You just need to start gently, honestly, and consistently. The beauty of these signs is that they are not final. They are flexible. Every breath you take, every step you make, every conversation you open, every meal you choose, every night you sleep well, each one is a step toward longer life, deeper presence, and richer meaning. This isn't about living forever. It's about living better for as long as you're here. So let me ask you, from one heart to another, which sign spoke to you the loudest today? Which one felt like your body saying, "This is where we begin"? Because today can be that beginning. Not because something is broken, but because something inside you still believes there's more life to live, more strength to reclaim, more joy to feel, more love to give and receive. And if you don't do it for yourself, do it for the people who love you, for the stories you haven't told, for the mornings you haven't woken up to yet. Thank you for spending this time with me. I hope this video has reminded you of one thing above all else. Your life matters, your presence matters, and your next chapter is still yours to write. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video and haven't yet liked and subscribed, now is the perfect time to do so. It really helps our channel grow and reach more people who need this kind of helpful content. And don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you'll always know when a new video is up. Your support truly means the world to us. Take care, and we'll see you in the next video.